Sheet metal training, step 4.3, using the global labor adjustment tools. We will go further into labor adjustments in step 6 in the video training. This is just going to be a quick overview of how to use the global tools. Within the pressure file, you have the individual item labor. Looking at the item, you can see that the labor for this column is broken down into decimal hours, and if you wish to make an adjustment to this labor, for an example, we'll use a 10% increase on the fabrication time. You will have to change each of these individual lines. Use your calculator, 0.23 times 10%, and type in the new number. Or, if the whole entire column is going to change by the same factor, you can click on the word fab at the top of the column. Enter in the factor that you wish to use, a 10, and click OK, and you'll see that the labor has then been factored up 10%. We would then have to do the same thing for the fabrication labor on the 2-to-1 ratio and the 3-to-1 ratio. We could then move to the individual items, such as the square elbow, and make the same change. Now, if we determine that all items are going to be factored by the same percentage, we can use the global tool. Let's return to the menu, and we can click on the global factor button. The global tool will allow us to dictate to the program what information we want to adjust. In this example, we'll use fabrication labor, fab for the 1-to-1, fab for the 1-to-2, and fab for the 1-to-3. And the percentage that we want to adjust is a plus 10% to all of the fabrication labor that's in the program. So I'll go ahead and change that to 10. If we decided that only certain sizes were going to be changed, we could check this box and select only the sizes or the size lines that we wish to have factored up by 10%. This is common. Some people will adjust the smaller ranges with a negative percentage, and then the medium size will go up by a small percent, and then the large size will go up by a greater percent. You have the option down at the bottom to include standard length in your adjustment. If you're using a coil line, you've probably already factored the labor for the coil line, and you do not wish to have it adjusted at this time. So you could switch it over to no, and it would only adjust the non-standard duct and all of the fittings to the right. By hitting the factor button, you'll be prompted with an "Are you sure?" Anything that you're going to change that is going to be a big change to the program, we're always going to ask you if you're sure you wish to proceed. When you hit the yes button, you'll be able to see the program go through and factor all of the individual items up 10% for the fabrication labor, but only on the size ranges I have chose. This is a very quick process, and it saves you a lot of time. The next thing to look at is global change. In the future, when we're looking at the labor adjustments, in step 6, we'll talk about how to switch the program over to do a pounds per hour factor. To do the pounds per hour, you would go into the individual item, and you would need to change over the decimal hours to your pounds per hour factor. For instance, if we were installing at 17 pounds per hour, I would need to change this column over to a 17. I would have to do this for this entire column, the 2-to-1 ratio, the 3-to-1 ratio, and all of the individual items as well. Now, if we wanted to do it globally to the same factor, by using the menu button and go into global change, I can change everything to one number, instead of using the factor where I'm adjusting it by a percentage. If I click on global change, check all 3 of the install boxes, and type in the number that I wish to use for my pounds per hour factor. We'll use 17. And do I wish to include standard length duct? Yes. Everything in the field is going to be installed at 17 pounds per hour. I can now hit the set button and click yes on the "Are you sure?" And you'll see all of the items have been changed over to use an install of 17. Refer to step 6 for more in-depth detail on setting up pounds per hour. There are several more options that must be checked and several more sections that must be either zeroed or added into that 17 pounds per hour before you can go into takeoff and begin using it. This will conclude the walkthrough of using the global tools within the rectangular pressure file.